Welcome to the Tissue Box Podcast. I'm your host, Pam Jordan. Welcome back to another inspiring episode of the Tissue Box Podcast, where we unwrap the stories behind amazing individuals who make a difference in our world. I'm your host, Pam Jordan, and today we have a truly phenomenal guest joining us. Our special guest is Kendrea Robinson, a devoted wife, a dedicated nurse practitioner, a successful entrepreneur, and a published author. Kendrea's journey is nothing short of extraordinary, and we are thrilled to delve into her remarkable path into the field of medicine. From her early days of exploring her passion for healthcare to becoming a respected voice in the medical community, Kendrea has continuously shown resilience and determination. She is that girl. Okay. Her story is one of perseverance and innovation, and she inspires many through her multifaceted career. Join us as we chat with Kendrea about her experiences, the challenges she's faced, and the triumphs she's celebrated along the way. Now, whether you're interested in healthcare, entrepreneurship, or personal growth, Kendrea's insights will surely leave you motivated and uplifted. Welcome to the Tissue Box Podcast, Kendrea Robinson. Hey, girl.
Hey, girl.
How are you?
I'm great.
You look beautiful.
Thank you.
We are so honored to have you with us today to tell us about your story, your journey, and, the things that happen in between, the good and maybe the not so good. Talk about how your journey started in healthcare.
So I guess we'll take it all the way back to going to school. When I was a kid, when I was going to college, my mom said, well, what do you want to go to school for? So at first I was like, well, I want to do teaching. Like, I was like, that's all I knew.
Yeah.
Like, in the African-American community, that's what I saw a lot of. So I was like, I want to be a teacher just like everybody else. And then she was just like, I just see like there's something else. And so she introduced me to nursing because I had no idea about nursing, wasn't introduced to it. And from there, because she saw the passion that I had as a child. Like, I love nurturing my brothers.
Caring for people, yeah.
And ended up going to nursing school. And during that process, of course, there were some failures and some things that happened. And then I ended up going to nursing school. I did go to technical college at first. And then after that, I ended up getting my bachelor's and my master's degree. But in the process of that, of course, that's where I found my purpose.
It's always nice when you find your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Some people go through life and not ever understand or learn what their purpose is. So when you finally found out what your purpose was, when it was revealed to you, were you receptive to that? Were you like, nah, I don't think so? Or yes, were you all in from the very beginning?
I really was just doing me. At the time, I knew that I was a person that loved to take risks.
Okay.
So when I was during nursing, I became a travel nurse. And this was like early on, before the travel nursing became a thing. It's like 2014, 2015. And I went to California. And at the time, that was like the furthest I was going to be going, like without my family, like close by. Because normally I would do like travel assignments, like up and down the East Coast. And so my mom was like, you should not go all the way over there. Like, you don't know anybody, all these things. And so in my head, honestly, at the time, I only went with like, I think in my bank account at the time, I had like maybe $200 or $300. And I just knew like I was just going to survive off the strength of, my housing. And that was like the best thing I could have done. And so just doing that, when I got over there, I wasn't introduced to like this healthy eating till I got over there. Because I was raised to eat, the beef, the pork, like just eating crazy.
Yeah.
Things that we love in the South. And so over there, you didn't have access to that. Like, I didn't have access to the good fried chicken. I didn't have access to
stew, beef, and rice.
All the good stuff, country stuff. And I just started losing weight. Like, when I came back home, people was like, oh my God, like, what did you do? Like, you lost so much weight. And I was like, I didn't know I lost no weight. And so that's when I tapped in. I was like, wait a second. like, I lost weight. I feel better. I started really finding myself, when I was over there. And then when I came back home, I realized that if I went through what I went through, mentally, spiritually, off of the strength of losing weight, I was like, then my family needs to know, like, this is the life. Because, I had family around me that had diabetes. I had aunts that didn't have like limbs. I saw so much physically due to the sickness. And so I was like, I need to first, educate my family. And from there, I started educating the community.
Wow, that's awesome. And so tell us about Practical Purpose Solutions and how that came to be.
So it started off with that journey, that part of the journey. And from there, it just was like things were just happening. So when I started doing the education, I was more on the health coaching realm. And that was like around 2016, 2017. And then I went from that to, I was in school as a nurse practitioner, and I saw different, was exposed to different sicknesses, different people. And I was like, there's just so much there's so much into healthcare that can be brought to the community. And IV hydration therapy was like just one of those things I was exposed to. And I never experienced it till I went to Atlanta, and I got my first service, and I was like, whoa, like I feel so good.
You felt different, yeah.
Like I was like, I didn't even know that this was a thing. And so after that experience, I started doing my research on it, and I was like, when I get my nurse practitioner license, I'm going to offer IV hydration therapy. And so along the way, I help a lot of people lose weight, just help coaching them through the process. And then I started having like events all the time. And I was like, you know what, it's time. And so that's how I got into the IV hydration therapy, because it was just something unique. And I wanted to bring something different. I'm like, people, because I'm always big on, if people already have access to it, then of course you can do different things. But if they already have access to it, I feel like you want to be different. You want to give them something they don't have access to. So for especially the African American community, that was big for me, because we wasn't really exposed to that.
Right.
And so that's how I ended up bringing Practical Purpose Solutions in. And then from there, we just combined the multiple services.
And how rewarding is that?
Yeah,
to see the difference that you've made in the community, and how you're changing people's health situation. How rewarding is that?
It's very rewarding. People will come in for one thing, and then next thing you know, they're literally like family. Like it's like they have to come back sometimes. And like somebody said the other day, they was like, I feel like you make people come back to you like on purpose. I'm like, no, I really don't. Like it's just the energy. Like the staff is amazing.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about, because in healthcare, we can always diagnose and we can always treat, but the best healing is to how you make somebody feel, because it affects them mentally. So if I'm coming in with a sickness, or if I'm coming in with, I want help on something with my body, I don't want to come in just feeling like I'm just going to a regular doctor. You want to make people feel like, I feel relaxed. I can actually talk to them. Like I can actually get out how I feel. And I love it because people talk to me about things that they may not talk to their primary care doctor about. So yeah.
Yeah. And that, talk a little bit about the IV hydration therapy that some folks may not know. What kind of transformation does that do to the body?
So dehydration is a really severe thing. So anybody that has like colds, anybody that's stressed out mentally, anybody that is going through anything in the body. So your labs could be normal, but your body could be going through some things. Your body is going to absorb water first. It's going to absorb the water first. And so like when people go into the ER, that's the number one thing people do. They're like, hook them up to IV, get them some fluids.
Yeah.
And typically, even if it's dealing with blood pressure issues, like blood pressure really low, that's going to boost it up quickly. And so what the IV hydration therapy does that we do specialize in is you get your hydration, but then you get the vitamins. So we deal a lot with people that have inflammation issues, people that have a lot of chronic sinuses, people that have low energy. A lot of times the low energy could just be dehydration. And then people that have a lot of inflammation, so like lupus problems, arthritis, people that have headaches, people that have really bad sinuses, a lot of that we focus and tailor on the inflammation.
And how quickly does that happen? Because we know with IV, it's going into your bloodstream immediately. So do you immediately feel the difference?
Yeah, so most people feel it within about 15 to 20 minutes. They start to feel like the inflammation going down, especially they have like really bad coughing. Some people that's in a lot of pain, they'll start to feel a difference. And then of course we have like little things that we offer them when they're there to help like pain and stuff topically. But you definitely, it's not like a long process. It's not going to take hours. Now there are some infusions that can take a long time, but those infusions, they don't take a long time.
Wow.
So it's really convenient. I mean, I always tell people that, especially like busy people that's always busy or people that's on the go, this is like your go-to, because a lot of times you don't have time to drink water. Like you don't have time to remember to drink water. Sometimes you can't even bring water into your meetings or conferences all the time. So
you just go all the time. So this would be perfect for a person like that. So I could be in there like every day.
We recommend at least once a week, or you could do it. We try not to do it every day, but you can definitely do once a week.
Once a week?
Yes.
Right. And so when you're doing this, you create, and I've experienced it. I can talk about that. I've definitely had the IV hydration before, and it is such a serene experience. I mean, you're super relaxed. I mean, you're in a dim lit room where you're forced to relax. And for somebody that's like high stress like me, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Nice little relaxing music playing in the background. I was just like, I could do this all day.
What it's about.
Yeah. So, right now, how your services, you offer them like every day of the week, practical. Tell us where you're located.
So if you're in South Carolina or Florence area, we're actually located on Second Loop, 2011 Second Loop. You can find us right across from what most people know as Rogers Barbecue, and we're the first suite. So most people know the VIP magazine, so we're right next door to them.
Okay, all right. So before you got into this field of medicine, what were you doing?
That's all I've been doing.
Really?
Yes, that's all I've been doing. So I did go for like my certified nursing assistant certification. I got that, but other than that, I did work at like TJ Maxx. So I did retail. And that's probably where most of my customer service came from, with retail. And then I worked at McDonald's when I was younger. So yeah, I pretty much been.
But when you found that passion though, and you was like, okay, this is what I'm.
So with this during nursing, so I worked on the dialysis floor. And I think that's where my passion grew for like the hydration, because I was like really tired of seeing like people like kidney function. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, because honestly, I think in this area, there's a very high percentage. I'm not sure what the percentage is, but dialysis is like one of the major disease processes that are affected in our region. And a lot of it, plays into like the chronic conditions too, but a lot of it is dehydration. And the things that people are drinking and just not taking care of their bodies. So if you can focus on people hydrating, but also focus on people doing like taking their vitamins and, taking the supplements that they need to take, there's so much that can be prevented, which is like the chronic conditions as well.
So how was your journey from the beginning to where you are now? What was your biggest challenge, the biggest challenge you faced in opening up your business and where you are now?
Lord.
Yeah.
One?
Oh, well, we can talk about multiple ones, because I know it had to be more than just one. I mean, especially as a Black woman. And entrepreneurship and
one of the biggest things was just not knowing. There was just a lot of stuff I kind of just jumped into as a first time entrepreneur in my family. Well, we have had entrepreneurs, but especially like in medicine, I think it's just totally different. Because you have to have certain protocols in place before you get opened up. You need to have certain regulations. You have to be signed off by like the health department and stuff. So those were certain things that kind of was like, first of all, I was in fear because I'm not used to dealing with the safety portion of nursing on that level, having to deal with like DHEC or, calling them, asking them questions. That was kind of like nerve-wracking because I'm like, I don't know, they might give me some, they might say no, or they might give me some lashback just because, some of the things I was taught younger too, like, because as we adapt certain habits from what we hear.
Yes.
And you get fear from what you grew up hearing. So it was just a lot of things from day one, just saying yes to the process. And then from there, opening up and then marketing. Like at first I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna get these people in here.
I got the business. How do I get the people in it?
Yeah. And now I got to go out here and market a whole service that a lot of like people in my area don't really know about. Like, how am I gonna do this? And so that was a struggle. Well, it wasn't really a struggle, but it was challenging because even though I should have just kind of just went out there and just did whatever, what was on my heart, it was just the fear of what if the rejection, like what if people say no, or what if people never come? And then the other, I guess, struggle would be that I encountered would be just because I started everything from scratch. So I didn't have business loans. I didn't have, nobody. I really didn't even have nobody financially telling me, hey, this is what you should do. Like, and a lot of people have that advantage, but I didn't. And so even though it made me stronger and it made me, where I am now, that was challenging because when taxes come around, it's like, whoa, wait a second. Because like my accountant could tell me, hey, Kendrea, like you need to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, whatever, I'll just worry about it later, because I got other things to worry about.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of challenging. It's just the educational part on your finances and marketing and, getting over the hump. And so in that process, I actually started therapy. Like, I think like the first, maybe the second month, I went to therapy because I was like,
were you overwhelmed?
Yeah, I was just like, okay, I can't go to my family because they're going to be like, well, why are you going full time anyway? Like, like just work a job and just, worry about this on the back end. But it was like, I knew in my heart, like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I'm a generational breaker. So if I'm going to break these cycles that has been occurring in the family, the only way to break it is do what they never done. Right. So I knew like I had to say, I'm going to go full time. And because I didn't know who to go to, I had to go to therapy. I had Jesus, but you need somebody to really tell you like, listen, This is what's going on and that you're not crazy. And so going to therapy, it helped me so much because she was just able to let me know like the way you feel is normal. And it's going to be okay. And I need you to dissect all of this. And I need you to process it. I need you to talk this out. You could tell me how you feel. Like, it was just so therapeutic, like getting on that call every week and just being able to talk to her and tell her how I really felt and have no
and not being judged.
Right. No judgment zone. Like, I didn't have to worry about nobody telling me no lashback. And even she would tell me things that I was just like, well, dang, I didn't even know you knew that.
So what would you tell people who say, why would I pay somebody to tell them how I feel? Why would I want to do that? Because you know how we are about therapy and our mindset about therapy is, and how, I know me. Nobody knows me better than me. I can handle this. I don't need to talk to anybody about what's going on with me, especially pay somebody.
Exactly.
What do you say to those people?
I think you have to know what you want. Like, do you want to stay with the thoughts? Do you want to stay feeling the way that you feel? Do you want change? Because if you don't want that, then you don't want help. But if you do want that, you're going to grab at your resources. So if you know that you consistently hear mental health therapy is helpful,
like, very helpful,
you're going to try it because you're like, at least if I try, I did try. I can say I tried.
Right.
And, I tell people all the time, we don't know everything. We don't know everything. And even though we want to know everything about ourselves, sometimes that criticism is important. Sometimes people telling us, about ourselves is important. Because if not, then how can you grow? Like, how can you become better? How can you really go to your next level if you don't want to accept that?
And you don't want to grow.
Exactly. And then when you be in the same space, you're like, want to blame everybody
Right.
else.
That's what we do.
So you have to make a decision. And I always tell people, assess yourself. I always tell people
sometimes
that all the time.
And that's hard. That's hard to do
It
for
is
some
hard.
people. And it's hard for some people to receive that,
Yeah,
because they think they know everything,
It is hard. It's hard, but you have to.
Yeah.
It's part, like every quarter, every week, you should be assessing. Just like you assess finances, you assess, relationships, you assess all this other stuff. But
your mental health.
Assess your mental health. Like, what are you really feeling?
Yeah.
Like, where are you really?
And it's okay that you're not okay.
Seriously.
Right.
Seriously.
So how do you juggle everything that you've got going on in your life? Your business, you got a husband, you're an author. Yeah. How do you juggle all of that and still be sane?
Well, it took me going through the struggles. And I've realized that you have to pace yourself. Like, some days you might have a lot on your plate. The next day you need to chill out. People that are consistently having a lot on their plate and no chill, that's dangerous. And even though it may look like I have a lot on my plate, a lot of times I am pacing myself. Like, when I get home, I'm rubbing my feet in the bed.
That's what I was getting ready to ask you.
Social media
what does your chill look like when you recognize? So you're very in tune with yourself, your emotions, your mental well-being to say, look,
that was a lot
something need to give. Okay. So what am I going to do for myself today?
Yeah.
Right?
Seriously.
And so your chill looks like going home and rubbing your feet, taking care of yourself?
Yes, taking care of me. And then, like, with I try to balance a lot of my busy work around, like, my husband's schedule. Because I know that he works a certain shift, like a certain schedule. So I try my best now to make sure that when he have free time, because he's vocalized at the beginning, like, you always busy. So I try, like, if somebody's like, can you speak here or can you do this? I'm like, let me look at my schedule and make sure that, his time is free, because that's important. Because, a lot of people like to say, well, I don't need a spouse. It's all about money. And I'm like, you need that other person. So rather it's a spouse or a friend, whatever you want to, you need somebody else in your corner that you can go to. And I always tell people, it's only fair that you give people that you love that time.
Right.
Because, when you need them, you want them available.
Right. And you need people to check you. When you need to be checked, you need that.
Yeah. And then when I'm at work, I try my best to do as much work as I can. Sometimes it's challenging, but I do try to do a lot of work at work. And I've been reading a lot. So a lot of the books that I've been reading has really been teaching me the importance of doing work at work and managing life at home or outside of work. So that way you don't. Because that's when if you don't get a break, that's when you get burned out.
Right. And you talk about you reading. You're reading a lot. You're an author.
Oh, yeah.
I read your book.
Yeah.
And you've gone through some things.
Yeah.
Some relationships that you talked about in the book, and how you've gone through that portion of trauma in your life and how you survived that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I can actually talk about it now, for real. It seems like I keep having stuff back to back about the same conversation. But yeah, so in 2018 I lost a child. She was a girl, and in that process it was not a healthy relationship. And the person wasn't like a severely bad person. It just wasn't a good fit. And from that actually taught me how important it is to be on God's timing. And but I actually became more spiritual in that process, because I realized that, if I was in the right position, if I was actually in being obedient to certain things, then I wouldn't have encountered that. But that also, a lot of that kind of tied into my childhood. So I was raised, My parents were really good parents, but I also dealt with insecurities. I had really bad eczema. So, people have eczema, but I had it to the point like I had caked up like dry skin and flaky skin, and I was scratched real bad. And people used to pick on me in school. And so, like, I think at the time when I was dating, I would just kind of like accept, conversation. It was more so like, oh, they cool, they nice.
Yeah.
And then you get older, I was like, oh, they actually got, they making money. Like, okay, this is a good fit. But, I realized that after that process, I dissected a lot, especially going through therapy. And I realized that a lot of my relationships were really unhealthy when it came to dating, because I was just choosing, I was just actually dating because I felt like they accepted me, but they weren't healthy, like as far as future wise. They were, nice. They were, but you look for certain things in a mate, and at the time I wasn't even thinking about what I was looking for.
You just wanted the attention.
I was just like, they cool. We can make this work.
And do you think that had a lot to do with the self-doubt that you had about yourself when you were?
Yeah, it did. But that actually took me out of that sunken place. It took me, and it made me know who I am now. It made me realize who I really, really am. It made me more bold. It made me more confident. It made me like, no, I don't want that in a person. It just made me who I am. And then, of course, I met my husband, and he really has opened my eyes up to a lot. So I always tell people, because people always say, well, you don't want to have kids anymore. I'm like, yeah, but it's not up for my time. Whenever it's time, it's going to happen again. But that process was, I like the fact that God was able to show me my do's, my don'ts, like what we ain't doing no more. And what we're going to do progressing, and how are you going to help others. And I think that's why I have a passion for seeing people move forward, right? Because a lot of times people, they get behind because they're so stuck on trauma or the loss of something. But when God gives you life, there's more ahead. So if he didn't give you life, there's nothing else left. But if he give you life, then there's something else more ahead. That's how I look at it.
I can't even imagine losing a child. And I think we've all been in unhealthy relationships and being able to recognize that. But talk about how you get through losing a child.
I think about her every day. But I also think about, okay, I had her at 21 weeks. So I've learned in life that when we're going through things, we have to look at the pros and cons, and it's not always about our gratification. And so I look at 21 weeks, the doctor said, well, if she lives, her lungs are not going to be healthy. So did I want her to suffer on earth, or did I want her to just, go to heaven? Like, she's a baby. I knew she was going to go to heaven. And so getting through that process, a lot of it was just focusing on what I was doing before, which I was in school at the time. I was actually in grad school. I think I was like maybe a semester or two, like towards the end. And I just focused on what I was focused on to make sure she was going to be good. And so that's what I kept going.
That's what pulled you through.
Going. Wow. And so I also always had my nieces and nephews. They was always been like my babies. And so they the ones who keep me going now, because it's more so like she's in heaven, and then I'm also with my nieces and nephews. Like, they got to see somebody different outside of grandma and granddaddy or parents. And so they are like the ones that I'm like, I got to do this for them, so they can see something different. If they go the route, that's totally up to them. If they don't, at least that, hey, I had somebody right there that could actually, show me the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're so bold and confident now, and it shows. For all that you do in the community, your speaking engagements, the things that you're exposing our community to. And I applaud you for that. And I know that you are well respected in the community. And what is it on your list to do next? What is it that you that you are positive and about, that you want to do? What are your goals and some of the things that you
Lord.
still have yet to accomplish?
It's funny you asked me that because I don't know, like I've been having this moment with God where I'm like, I'm not, it's like, Lord, I don't want to ever feel like I'm not grateful for where I am. I had this year was the year that kind of showed, because I've been in business with Practical Purpose Solutions. I think we're going on like 5 years next year. So it's like this year I actually sat back a few times like, this been a long journey. Like from school, getting 3 degrees to now going through the business and everything. And it's just like God, like I actually just want to chill. But of course there's more. And so when you asked me that, you kind of made me like kind of even go deeper, because now it's more so that I don't want to just necessarily continuously not add anything, but even for my patients, I just want them to enjoy and embrace where we at. Because, and just master where we at. Because, we've done events, we have the services, but just enjoying it. Like, hey, that's the place you go if you want to be restored. When you get in there, you're going to be restored. You go to these events, you're going to be restored. And I think because of the foundation part, I think when you work in your business, you experience so much. And so working in it now, I feel like I can work on it. How else can I make the people happy? And sometimes it's not always about adding. Sometimes it's about just mastering what's there. Yeah. How can we make it better? How can we grow it as far as making sure the customers are happy? What do we need to add, as far as when they come in, what's the ambiance? Like
that's important
those little
too.
things,
Yeah,
like
they
it
matter.
matters. It makes a big difference. And so that's where we're at. And I just believe in, going forward in 2025, there's going to be so much growth that, of course, there's going to be more expansion. And for me, my goal is to increase my network so that my assignment, that they have more access to resources. Yeah. That's big.
Oh, and it's gonna happen.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
It's gonna happen.
Definitely.
Are you well, I know we talked about this earlier, you touched on it earlier about, your family and will children come? I don't think that's your focus.
It's not.
I
have a stepson. His name is Jamarion. So I think with him, he keeps us busy. And I do know I'll have kids, but it's just whenever it happens.
Whenever it happens. That's not your primary focus. You're gonna let it happen when it happens.
I've seen people try to have babies and then it don't end up having them.
That's a lot of stress.
It is. Yeah. It is. And you have to, and the thing is, that's a form of idolism too. Because now you're not allowing God to do what he gonna do. If he want me to have kids, he probably do it today. If he want me to. But it's not in my control.
So you're just going to continue to just do what he has planned for you to do. You're just going to follow the assignment. And you're doing beautiful things. I want you to know that, if nobody's told you that lately. We really appreciate you.
And I appreciate you for being part of the journey.
Yeah. Girl, I'm always
here.
You
posted so many different things. You kept the people going at those events.
Well, I think it's important. It's important. And what you do is definitely important with the service that you provide, because in our community, and we touched on this earlier about, we need to start learning how to take care of our bodies better. And the things that we put in our bodies, we was like, that's what, we used to eat this and I'm still here. Yeah, but really, you know what I mean?
Really? So like it get old.
Right. And so I think it's very important that we expose our people to better, and it's important to have those conversations, and you do a great job of putting that message out there that, look, we got to take care of our bodies.
Seriously.
Mentally and physically. And mentally is so important as well.
So important.
Yeah.
If your mental is off, then everything else is off.
Wow.
Everything else is off.
And don't you feel sad for the people who don't think they know you got mental problems or issues, or your mental health ain't all there, and you trying to act like,
because it affects everything.
Wow.
And not only does it affect your physical, but it affects productivity. It affect how you go about your business.
It affects the people around you, because who wants to be around you when you all
over the place?
Right.
Yes.
Right. So we need to talk about that. We need to maybe we need to implement some mental wellness.
No, seriously. Seriously. And the biggest thing, I think, because people are addressing the mental health, but I think the biggest thing for our community is just, we have a lot of organizations, but you have to know how to reach the people. And it's not always through the regular resources. So it's not always through billboards or, putting up buildings. You got to go and get these people.
You got to get the people. You got to get the people.
Sometimes you're going to have to go to the hole in the wall and grab them out. Like, it's, and it's sad that it has to take all that, but it takes all that. Right. Because our people are more so like, I got no relationship. I'm not talking to you.
What? That part.
Yeah, they're like, no, but it takes all that. So once we learn to change the trajectory, it'll get better.
But we can't stop.
Yeah, we can't.
As discouraging as it can be sometimes when folks are not receptive of it, we just got to keep talking about it. And I think the more we talk about, of course, the more we talk about mental health, the more we make it normal to talk about it, because we as people, we just, we don't talk about it. We don't think it's necessary.
Yeah. And you have to know when you want change. Like, it's not even just business. Like, are you tired of feeling like you're in fear all the time? Like, are you tired of feeling like, well, I can't do this because this,
the anxiety.
Like, are you making excuses?
Yeah.
Like, go talk about it. And even down to the males, I feel like males go through so much. I was talking with someone and they were like, yeah, at this age, I was doing X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, well, that's not normal. Like, and then the more I heard, when you hear something, you keep hearing it over and over from different people. And I'm like, okay, this is an issue in our community. Like, this is something you need to go to therapy about, and I think
we don't do the therapy though.
They have made things so normal, and it's sad because what they think is normal is not normal. There's a reason why you're doing what you're doing now. You need to go to therapy. And when you go to therapy, maybe we can stop so much of the issues that we have in our community.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. So we have to change the trajectory. And then, with I don't want to go all the way here, but, just thinking about mental health in our community, an example like males, they're supposed to be the head of the household.
Right.
So if they're not getting their mental together, the household is always going to be
always off.
So they're definitely not going to therapy. The household, because they're like, dad is like this. Dad ain't changing it.
It must be normal.
He ain't going to therapy.
Right.
And that's if the dad is in the family. So
that's another issue in our community.
There's just so many dynamics that mental health plays a portion in, that as a medical provider, I've seen so much. So we just have to keep changing. We have to keep. And one thing my patients tell you, they're going to therapy. It might take 2 years, but we're going to get there.
Wow. That's great. Well, Kendrea, we love you. I love you and we appreciate what you're doing. Don't stop doing it. Bigger things in 2025, right?
Yes, I do believe that.
That's great. So how can people find you again on social media?
They can go to Facebook, Practical Purpose Solutions, Kendrea Robinson. And then on Instagram, they can go to Practical Purpose Solutions as well, and Kendrea FNP.
We appreciate you. And your business is located again?
2011 Second Loop Road, Suite A, Florence, South Carolina, 29501.
There you go. Kendrea Robinson, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Tissue Box Podcast. Please like, subscribe, and share. And until next time.